Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the round 6 AFL review. Going through every match on round 6. What do we learn? The big winners, the big losers. The first thing is probably I would say one of the biggest upsets of the round. A result that I would never have seen coming. St Kilda got absolutely fucked. They got absolutely demolished by the Western Bulldogs, 64 to 124. It was embarrassing for St Kilda. I mean, the scoreline was good for them. And the third quarter, they were down by around, it was like 70 odd points. They kicked sort of 4 of the last 5 goals, which got them a couple extra points. But St Kilda looked absolutely defeated. They did have a couple injuries that night, but midfield got demolished, and Ross Lyon and his St Kilda Football Club, they got their pants pulled down by Bevo and his Dogs, who was led brilliantly by Bailey Dale with 39 touches. How he went from being a substitute to that. Look, Luke Beveridge is something not right with him, because he makes some of the most bizarre decisions. Dropping Caleb Daniel, Bailey Dale as the sub in recent weeks. Jack McRae couldn't break into the team. Riley Sanders was sub. There's just some really dodgy decisions. He's playing some really weird players at the moment. James O'Donnell's getting picked. There's some suspicious decisions. In this game, it was Bailey Dale, it was Chalor, McRae, English, Bont, the midfield. It was, I know Bailey Dale can play in the back line as well, but Dale had 15 marks, 2 tackles, 39 touches, and a goal, 867 metres gained, the most by over 230, which is mental. He had a fantastic game. The wingers for the St Kilda Football Club was great once again. Brad Hill, Windhager was good as well. I thought Wangani Malera was decent. But it was the Dogs with the hunger, I think. They had to respond from last week's loss to Essendon. And they responded in a way that now will mean that St Kilda will have to respond next week as well. And I think they will. But we'll get on to my tips if you watch in future videos. Next up, Adelaide Crows taking on the Essendon Football Club. By the way, I tipped every home game this round. St Kilda I tipped, got that wrong. I tipped Adelaide and I got that wrong as well. This is the big game. Did Draper dive? Did Draper dive? Yes. Not did he dive, sorry. Did he drag it in? Of course he fucking did. Of course he dragged it in. The umpires came out after, or the AFL came out the day after, whatever, and said, look, categorically speaking, we got this wrong. You can see he drags it in. You can see after the game as well, Draper mocking that with the dive on the floor. Unfortunate. You know what? I'm not too mad about it though, because Essendon did deserve to win. They were the better team all day. They were ahead the majority of the game, and I thought they were just better. 10 goals 18 compared to 11 goals 9. They just weren't accurate enough, Essendon, but they were really good. Dawson fired back. I feel like Dawson hasn't had a great start to the season, reflective of his team. But he fired back with 31 touches in 2 goals, 7 marks, and 9 tackles, which I think is important to note. He had the most metres gained as well. So Jordan Dawson had a phenomenal game. But I thought it was just the fight away from home. The Essendon Football Club, I thought, fought really well. I thought Gresham had a phenomenal game. And I just think Adelaide's season is done. They are now sitting 1 win from 5 in 15th place with a percentage of 84.1. The West Coast Football Club are above them. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. They are so poor. So poor. And they're going to find these wins almost impossible. Or making the 8 almost impossible. They keep doing what they're doing. Now, next round, they are playing North Melbourne. If they lose to North Melbourne, does Matty Nicks go? I don't know. Didn't they just sign him on like a longer term deal? It's what it is. Other players that were good this game. Thought Marriott was great. Stood up. Both captains stood up really. That was probably the main take from this game. Next up, we have got the Collingwood Football Club, who came back, I think, a 73-point 73-point deficit against the Port Adelaide Football Club. Port Adelaide came out fine in the first quarter, and in that second quarter you saw Collingwood kick goal after goal after goal. They've got their groove back. And they are looking fucking scary. Oh, I didn't think they were, Will Hoskinelli was probably the one for Collingwood who was really good, but no, outstanding players, I thought. Houston and I think it was Butters were good for, not Rose, yeah, Butters were good for Port Adelaide. But I didn't think they were, Dacos contributed, DeGoey contributed, some others contributed for Collingwood, which is a good thing, by the way, that no one overly contributed. Lipinski got the 4 goals, which I think is pretty outstanding. And Port Adelaide, sadly, got a hamstring injury to Jason Horne-Francis. I did tip Collingwood, so I got that right. But overall, that's 2 from 3 tips. Carlton, the next game, beat GWS 117-98. I did get this tip right. It was looking dodgy. Most of the game, I was thinking, geez, the Giants have control of this. They were basically ahead for all of the second and third quarter. And then in that third quarter, something clicked in Carlton when they thought, you know what, we're not doing this. And they kicked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 goals in a row leading into the fourth quarter. An absolute demolition job done by them. And I thought that was superb. Goal kickers, Harry Mackay had a great game. Charlie Kerner had a great game. Once again, getting carried by the forwards. Paddy Cripps with 39 touches, 7 tackles, 13 clearances. I thought he was phenomenal. And then DeConian had a really good game, getting a decent amount of hit-outs, as did Kieran Briggs. The Rucks this week seem to have really good games. In terms of the ladder, we find the Giants sitting equal on points, with Carlton just ahead by around 12%. So they're third, Carlton are fourth. And also just for the other games, Collingwood are in 10th place now, finding some form, whilst the Port Adelaide Football Club is slipping down into 5th. This was a great game. It was really good quality. That's what I took out of this match, watching it. The quality was world class. That game told me that those two teams are going to be in and amongst the top 4 shouts later on this year, unless something really badly goes wrong. Next up, one of the most disappointing games, I thought. Brisbane, it wasn't a great game to watch. Brisbane kicked 4 goals, 13. It was wet, it was sluggish. The skills weren't great. Obviously, you couldn't do any fancy little short kicks or nothing. Geelong kicked 9 goals, 9, were way more efficient. Were just the better team, I thought. And unfortunately for Brisbane, they find themselves equal on points with West Coast, which is just something is so wrong with that. I thought Zorko played a great game, 2 goals, many touches, but it was just Geelong contributing as a team, where I felt like it was Brisbane not doing that. Brisbane were in 12th place, equal with West Coast and St Kilda with 2 wins from 4 games. Geelong are undefeated. They are the only undefeated team left in the competition. The only defeated team left in the competition is North Melbourne, who haven't won a game yet. Geelong, sitting at 141%, are looking in fine form. They are looking absolutely phenomenal. Next week, they're playing Carlton at the G, which should set up to be one of the best games of the season so far. That'll be keen. I'm not sure who I'm going to go with there. But Brisbane have been so poor, and they're just going to continue being poor. They're playing the Giants at Manuka Oval next round. You would say that's probably a loss again. If they go 2 from 7, is it season over? I don't know. Next up, we have got the Demolition Derby, which I thought was quiet, boring apart from Harley Reid. Harley Reid made this game phenomenal. West Coast, after that dull first quarter, kicked away, and they looked the best team throughout the whole game. They made Fremantle look second rate. Fremantle in a derby, not giving the effort needed. Harley Reid, like I said, he was just on fire. 3 goals, big marks, broken tackles. Just had a really great game. Jake Warden once again kicking the bag. That's 2 weeks in a row. He is in absolutely phenomenal form. It's against Richmond and Fremantle, who aren't known for having great key defenders, in my opinion at least. It's still really impressive. Yo's looking back into fine form. Kelly's getting to form. West Coast are looking good. And next week, the West Coast Eagles, I think, have a winnable game playing Gold Coast at a weird stadium as well, the People First Stadium. Not sure where that is. So that's going to be an interesting game. And I probably won't back West Coast to win, but I wouldn't be overly surprised if they did get the job done. West Coast now, talking about the ladder, they are sitting in 14th place. And then Fremantle was slipped out of the 8 after a great start to the season in 9th place. The last two games I thought were pretty boring, nothing too much about them. Sydney beat Gold Coast 110 to 57, 53-point victors. Yeah, just a pretty boring game where one team's clearly better than the other. Grundy had a great game. Amadi had a good game with 4 goals. I thought Gold Coast had decent contributors in the middle, but the game, they just couldn't get it done. Gold Coast aren't that good. Sydney are now in 2nd place, equal points with Giants and Carlton. And the Gold Coast Football Club find themselves slipping down to 11th and with a not great percentage at 93.9. Last game was the game of the shitters. It was North Melbourne taking on Hawthorn. I tipped North. Hawthorn won easily by 45 points. Comfortable victors. Question marks about Clarko. Question marks about the North Melbourne Football Club. They do have good talent. Tristan Zeri had a great game again. He's having a really good season. Harry Sheezel once again standing up. But it was the unsung heroes of Morrison, Nash, even the likes of Impey had a good game. They are the ones who took Hawthorn to the first victory this season. North Melbourne find themselves at the dead last bottom of the ladder with a percentage of 57, and they are winless. Next week, the North Melbourne Football Club take on Adelaide, which should be an interesting game. I think they can get a win there. As for Hawthorn, they have got an interesting game against Sydney at home. That's the round recap. The big losses, I would say, St Kilda, Adelaide, Brisbane, Fremantle are big losers, and North Melbourne. In terms of status right now in the comp, power status, they've fallen a lot. The stock rises, I think the Bulldogs, Collingwood, stocks are rising, and then the West Coast Eagles. Richmond and Melbourne had a bye, so they didn't play a game. And that concludes the round recap. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll be seeing you in another video.